everyone. Welcome to Procter & Gamble Professional's webinar, Sustainability, LEED, and Green Cleaning. My name is Maggie Habib, and I will be the moderator for today's presentation. Procter & Gamble Professional is the away-from-home division of Procter & Gamble, serving the long-term care, healthcare, hospitality, food service, building cleaning, and maintenance industries. Just like our parent company, we are committed to providing innovative products that make life better for both our customers and for their patrons. At P&G Professional, we know that every experience counts, from how happy your customers are, to the products you use, to the safety of your employees. With more than 175 years of experience in consumer understanding and product innovation, we purposely engineer our programs to deliver a great experience. For today's webinar, we are pleased to welcome a guest speaker, President of the Ashkin Group, Steve Ashkin. The Ashkin Group is an internationally recognized consulting firm working to green the cleaning industry. Their expertise is utilized by organizations from governments to building owners and property managers to janitorial product distributors. During today's presentation, our objective is to inform you of new sustainability protocols per the LEED v4, which is updated, share how LEED v4 will affect the cleaning industry and what cleaning managers and distributors need to know to be in compliance with these new changes. Now I'd like to go ahead and introduce our speakers who are both experts on this topic. First, we have Steve Ashkin. Steve is an entrepreneur, an author, and a speaker with more than 30 years of experience working in the cleaning industry, with a predominant concentration in sustainability. He currently serves as the Executive Director of the Green Cleaning Network, co-founder of the Green Cleaning University, and CEO of Sustainability Dashboard Tools, all of which play important roles in his efforts to move the global cleaning industry from green to sustainable. Next, we'll hear from Joe Davis, who has been with P&G since 1996 and currently serves as the Category Account Executive with P&G Professional, overseeing both floor care and janitorial solutions. With that, I'd like to turn it over to Steve.
Well, thank you very much, Maggie. It really is my pleasure to be on the call today. And I also want to thank, P&G for, supporting these types of educational sessions. It's enormously valuable to help us be able to sort of move the entire industry forward. So thank you very much. And I also want to thank all of you that are on the call today. I know that you're all really busy, so our goal is to make this hour as absolutely valuable for you as possible. So as Jennifer pointed out earlier in her little introduction about using WebEx, please make sure if you have some questions that you enter them in at the bottom right-hand side of the screen so that we can do our best to make sure that we're providing you the best information we possibly can to help you on this subject. Also, we're going to have a couple of polling questions to really help us not only and help me understand how best I can help you today, but also to provide some good information so that we, again, can make the program as helpful to you as possible. So you see on the screen, I have quite a bit of extensive background on this particular subject, and I've been working on green issues for over 20 years and care passionately about the issue. And my goal today, again, is to just share as much specific information with you as possible. So before I even get into the discussion, I'd like to actually go to our first polling question and also to get you guys engaged a little bit. So what I'd like to know is, what do you really do? And the reason I'm asking this question is because I want to be able to provide the examples and give you some specifics, but obviously I want to tailor those to what segment and what it is that you do. So if you would click on the box that is on the right-hand side and then hit submit, we will take about 20 or 30 seconds, And again, that will just help me understand who we need to really focus on to be as helpful to you as possible. So Jen, as soon as it's appropriate to close this up, let's take a look at the results, and we will get rocking and rolling. Okay, well, thank you all very much for taking your time to do that. And okay, there are certainly some areas that we're not covering, and others are pretty evenly dispersed in a number of key sectors. And yeah, very good. There are a lot of people on this call. Great job, you guys, getting people on board. And well, let's get rocking and rolling. Okay, so the first section is we want to get into talking about the USGBC and LEED. And there's a real specific reason that even though we talk about green cleaning, we talk about sustainability, that the issue sort of circles back to talking about the USGBC and LEED. And it's simply because the LEED EBOM rating system has become sort of the roadmap to doing green cleaning. And that's because LEED, to me, represents the de facto national standard for what defines a green building. And you can see by looking at this slide that the USGBC founded in 1993, and when they launched their rating system, and LEED is a rating system, it's a product of the USGBC designed to help buildings and all their complexities be able to identify those attributes that make it a green building. And within the LEED rating system, which was launched in the late 90s, in LEED EB, which was launched around 2002, and LEED EB specifically is where those cleaning credits reside. And you can see the enormous uptake that LEED has in the marketplace. So not only is it the de facto national standard, you notice at the very bottom of the slide that at this point the adoption is increasing to the point where 1.5 million square feet are being certified every single day. So this really is the program that we want to build your cleaning programs around. So a few specific points that I think are very important for you to understand is that in November of 2013, the membership of the U.S. Green Building Council passed version 4 of the various LEED rating systems. But the first thing you need to understand is that it's not required. Version 4 isn't required until June 1st, 2015. For those of you who are building owners and are working on LEED projects or are thinking about registering your building for a LEED project, candidly, I highly recommend that you sign up and you register under the current LEED version 2009. And there's a very practical reason to do that because candidly, LEED, the new version, version 4, is more stringent, and typically with the higher requirements, like the higher Energy Star requirements, if your building has to invest in making improvements to meet those requirements, it means that the new version 4 will be more costly for your organization. So if you're contemplating signing up, registering your project in LEED, do it under 2009. And then in June of 2015, you'll no longer have an option. Everything will be version 4. With having said that, I still highly recommend that even if you register under the 2009 version, that you think about using the cleaning credits in version 4. Our industry has done amazing things, not just in the chemicals, but in paper and equipment and in training and certification in many areas, So there's lots of new requirements in version 4 that will really help keep you on the leading edge. So you really can use the new version 4, which is what we'll be talking about today, but register your building in 2009 just to help you save a little bit of money. Okay, so before we keep getting into LEED, I have one more polling question we'd like to ask, and that is about your familiarity with LEED. So before I just kind of get into it and get into too much detail, if you already know the detail, we don't need to waste our time. And if you're not that familiar with it, I will obviously then provide more detail to make it valuable for you. So please click on which of those best represent your familiarity with the new LEED, and we will take just a few seconds. Okay, thank you very much. This is very helpful. So what we're going to do is, for those of you who are very familiar with the rating system, please be a little bit patient as we get into some of the detail, as I really do want to make sure that everyone gets good information out of this. And I'm hoping for even those of you who are very familiar with it will give you some good ideas that can be helpful to you as well. So as we get into LEED and we get into talking about these roadmaps, there also becomes this really important issue to me, which is all of you are busy, so why should you even care? Why should you even spend time working on this? So the first thing that I want to do is what I call reintroducing the cleaning industry. And I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this, but to just drive home the point, the commercial cleaning industry is a huge industry. And when you look at the numbers on the screen, and I'm not going to bore you because you can read this stuff yourself, but the point of all of this is that the industry itself is huge. There are a lot of buildings being cleaned. There are a lot of companies being involved. There's a lot of janitors who work with these products every single day. And of course, most of us as just building occupants, we're spending 90% of our time indoors. So it's whether it's in our own homes and sleeping, whether it's in our schools, whether it's in our hospitals, whether it's in our hotels and restaurants, whatever it is, our industry has enormous opportunity to affect a lot of buildings and ultimately a lot of people. Beyond the impacts on just people, the products that you buy have huge environmental impacts as well. So each year in just the commercial cleaning industry, so these are not consumer products, household products, we consume over 6 billion pounds of chemicals, most of which are made from non-renewable resources, so there's lots of interesting opportunities to be able to address the environmental impacts from those products. We consume 4.5 billion pounds of paper that would, if it was all made from virgin fiber, consume 30 million trees a year, which affects our water quality, which affects lots of different habitat-related issues. We use 1 billion pounds of equipment. And, you know, when you throw that mop bucket away or you throw that vacuum cleaner away, we're typically replacing it with a new one. So all the environmental impacts associated with that, and all of these product categories, and we could talk about trash bags, we could talk about other tools and what have you, but all of those things can be affected by the purchasing and use decisions that you make. And again, the point of all of this is your decisions have the opportunity to make huge impacts. And today, we really can make a substantial difference in what is taking place both within your building, within our industry, and with the broader environment collectively. And as I was stating earlier, LEED can really help us by playing sort of the roadmap to make it easy for you to have confidence that you are using a state-of-the-art program. So now let's start really digging into it a little bit. So I want to first begin by defining what green cleaning is. And the first thing I really want you to take away is that it really is, it's not a thing. It's not, gee, you need to have third-party certified products. It's not a government approval. What green cleaning is for you as a product user, you as a purchaser, you as a facility manager to put on your green glasses. And when you're making that decision about buying a cleaning product, buying a laundry product, buying toilet paper, buying a piece of equipment, you put on those glasses, and your thought process is, among the various decisions, the various options that I have, and they all have to work, they all have to be cost competitive, but among all of those that work and are cost competitive, is there a difference based on the health and environmental impacts associated with those products? If you simply apply that thinking, I can buy these two products, Mr. Manufacturer, Miss Distributor, please tell me what makes your product green. Please explain to me what are the health and environmental benefits of this product compared to others that I can buy. And if you apply that, frankly, you are now a green expert. It doesn't require you to know everything. It does require you just to simply ask the right questions. And this information comes from a presidential executive order that was written in 1993. You see this one, it's been actually reauthorized several times now, and you can read what this says, but to me, this is the definition of what green is. And you can see that it's products and services that have a lesser reduced effect on human health and the environment when compared with other competing products and services that serve the same purpose. That is the definition of green. There's a couple of key statements in this definition, and the first is that green affects both health and the environment. And this is really important. And it's important because many people think that green is only about the environment, and I would argue that that is simply untrue. And especially for cleaning products, what good would a product be, even if it reduced environmental impacts, but if the product user got cancer? So clearly green has to be about both reducing impacts on health and the environment. An interesting note is, you notice in this definition, health was before the environment. The other key word in this is the word compared, because it really is a comparison. Nobody is suggesting that the products that you're currently using are bad. That's not what this is about. What this is about is the pride, is the ingenuity, is the intelligence of our industry, of the cleaning industry, really just continuing to drive innovation and improvements in the products. So you have lots of things. It's the same thing that, you can still buy 8-track tapes, or you can buy cassette tapes, or you can buy vinyl records, or you may want to buy these things, music electronically. The technology has evolved where you can buy those products compared to others that further reduce impacts on health and the environment. So it's a comparison to drive innovation focused on reducing health and environmental impacts. The other quick comment is that this really talks about that those improvements can be made throughout the life cycle of the product. So it's not just during use, we're going to protect our workers. It's also, what happens after it's disposed, what about the raw materials that went into it. In some categories, for instance, if we look at laundry products, the greatest environmental impacts actually turn out to be the heating of the water used in the laundry process. So when we start really thinking about green from a more holistic perspective so that we really can drive changes, it helps us to really focus on the things that really matter, that can help within your organization. And frankly, many of these things, if we're smart about it, can also help us save money as well. So let's get into more tangible stuff about how do we really do this. There is no need in the year 2014 to reinvent the wheel. So today there are actually a number of different roadmaps. And obviously I talked about the LEED for existing buildings, operations and maintenance rating systems, but also in other sectors there are similar green cleaning programs. The business of green cleaning was from IFMA, the International Facility Management Association. The Green Guide for Healthcare is obviously from Healthcare Without Harm and Practice Green Health. Quick and Easy Guide to Green Cleaning in Schools. In various sectors, they have their own guides, but the fact is all of them follow exactly the same requirements. So if you don't want to use LEED because you're in healthcare and want to use the Green Guide for Healthcare or use LEED for healthcare, you will actually get the same products, the same standard requirements, which I put up there only to emphasize that you can follow these standards with confidence. So let's start drilling down into a little bit, and I'm going to talk a little bit about what's going on with the changes in LEED and what you can do, where to really focus, and so let's just jump right into it. This were the goals of the U.S. Green Building Council in working on version 4. And the most important thing that I want you to take away from this is that the council really took their time to get lots of input. And frankly, this was extraordinarily complex and in some cases even controversial. And to help best address all of the issues, they had 6 rounds of public comments. And candidly, I'm a founding member of the council. I've been there since '93. I've worked on many of the LEED rating systems. I've worked on the previous LEED EB rating systems. The last ones, I think maybe we had 2, maybe 3 rounds of comments. This time, we really wanted to make sure we did it right and not take anything for granted. And again, this gives me confidence, not that LEED is perfect, but that we really have tried to understand what the questions and problems and challenges are and to make good recommendations. So in the 2009 version, and for those of you who aren't totally familiar with the LEED rating system, basically the way it works is there are 5 major sort of categories. You see sustainable sites and water energy and energy and atmosphere, water efficiency, energy and atmosphere, materials and resources, which are all the products that people buy outside of cleaning, I have to note. Indoor environmental quality is actually where all the cleaning credits reside. And then there's a 6th area for innovation and regional priorities. So sort of 5 major buckets, and plus you can get some extra credits for innovations. The way the rating system simply works is there's a handful of what's called prerequisites. And a prerequisite is you have to do it. It's pass-fail. If you would do everything else in the rating system, but not do a single prerequisite, you cannot get your building certified. So prerequisites are incredibly important, although you don't get a point for them. You just have to do them. Beyond this limited number, small number of prerequisites, there's about 100, 110 total points or credits that are available. There's a number of credits. Some credits are worth more than 1 point. In our case, for the cleaning industry, basically everything's 1 point. But the point of this is that there's all these flexible or optional credits that a building can go after. And frankly, the brilliance of LEED is that by doing it this way, they're able to rate a building that may be in Cincinnati, Ohio, where P&G is located, and compare that to a building that's in Orlando, Florida, to compare that to a building that may be in Phoenix, compared to a building in Minneapolis or Boston. So being able to allow the project team to sort of select those credits that make sense for not only their area, but the type of a building it might be, the age of the building, the size of the building, the location, whether it's urban or rural. So this combination has proven to work really well. So before we keep going, I just want to talk real quickly and really focus on some of these points. So you notice in sustainable sites there's a couple of credits, and those are for cleaning the outside of the building and the entryways and doing IPM and landscaping stuff. There's also a couple of credits in materials and resources that are primarily tied in the current version to waste and recycling related issues, since basically it's our custodians or environmental services and housekeeping people who are responsible for that stuff. But then in the indoor environmental quality area, they have a prerequisite for cleaning. And I have to say that that is really a big deal. There is a prerequisite for all projects to have to put together a green cleaning policy that frankly follows all of the credits that are in the indoor environmental quality section. This, and we'll get into a little bit of detail about this in a few minutes, but the point of all of this is every single LEED project is now doing green cleaning. This is really important, and there's really some great opportunities to make an impact in your building. Beyond the prerequisite, you see there's a number of credits, one for a custodial effectiveness audit, a cleaning policy, the products you buy that includes the chemicals, the paper, and the plastic liners. There's a credit for equipment, the vacuum cleaners, carpet extractors, a point for entryway matting systems, and then a point for the indoor pest management, integrated pest management, So this is a 2009 version. At another time, we would be happy to get into really a lot of detail to help you with these issues, but right now I really just want to focus a little bit on what the changes are and how we can really help you or help you understand what those are moving forward. So this is 2009. In the new version, the new version 4, the integrated pest management landscaping credit has actually been moved, and it's now just has been wrapped up into the indoor IPM credit. So that one has just been moved. In the IEQ section, you notice that we lost the cleaning policy. Now, that's a little bit of misnomer. Yes, we lost 1 point, one of the 10 points, but that requirement has now been rolled into the prerequisite. So you still have to do the policy, but the requirements are found there. And then the last one is the entryway mats has just been moved into another credit called Enhanced Indoor Air Quality. So those are the basic changes to how the numbers are laid out. And with that, what I now want to spend a significant amount of time is sort of going through them in a little bit more detail to help you understand what is going on with the program. I also want to point out that I know there's a lot of detail in this webinar, and the folks from P&G are recording it. They will be happy to share the information with you, and I'm sure their people would be happy to help you be able to figure this stuff out if you have questions. So let's begin by looking at the various prerequisites and changes. Again, I'm going to go through this quickly. You can get a copy of the presentation for the notes, but I really want to focus more on the highlights than going through all the details. The first thing about the prerequisite, the cleaning prerequisite, as I mentioned, is it absorbed the cleaning policy, and they've also provided some additional methods for being able to achieve the prerequisite. One is you can just put all the policy information and all the other detail together, or the second way is simply to be able to use a third-party certification like ISSA's SIMS program or Green Seal's GS42 program. So they added some additional options. Importantly, they are now requiring you to develop a strategy to reduce energy and water consumption. And one of the best places for you to really think about is looking at your laundry operations to be able to help you do that. I mentioned earlier that when you look at laundry, the biggest impact isn't the chemicals, it's actually the heating of the water, the amount of water, the cycle time. And these are things that really can make a huge difference environmentally. And as you know, every time we reduce energy consumption, we're actually saving the facility money. But there's other opportunities to develop plans to reduce energy and water associated with cleaning, just basically cleaning with cold water, using more efficient equipment and what have you. Also, you see that there's a specific strategy requirement for laundry and warewashing itself. So I think these are huge improvements to the program. So some of the details in the prerequisite, and this is just what it's containing. So it tells you to address cleaning products and equipment. It has you set up a number of goals, and you can read this. The one that I want to really focus on, though, is the auditing issue. They want standard operating procedures, and they want a process to make sure you're really doing it, just to make sure that what you think is happening really is taking place within the facility. And here's the other requirements, and you see the issue about laundry and warewashing and conservation of energy and water, all important. And obviously, I can never forget to talk about the importance of hand hygiene, which is probably one of the most important health intervention strategies you can be doing in your facility. There's requirements for developing training plans for your personnel. And I put this slide in here, and again, you can get a copy of the presentation because this is how you write a policy. This is what the USGBC wants in a policy. And just remember, if you're making a submittal to the USGBC, I want you to assume that the person getting the information is a 25-year-old young person, 2 years out of college, who has never operated a building and certainly has never done a cleaning program. What they know is how the LEED rating system works, and they're looking to check boxes. So follow the recommendations of how the council wants you to do stuff. Make sure you capture each of these specific issues, a little paragraph about it. Make sure you do it right, but make it easy for the reviewer to check the box that you did it. And make these as short as necessary. They don't need a 50-page book on every single credit. So be effective at what you do, address the issues the way they want them addressed, make it easy for them, and it, frankly, in the end, will make it easier for you as well. I mentioned earlier that there's two options, and this is the second option for doing the prerequisite, and you can use either one of these third-party certifications. The only thing that they also included was that if you use these third-party certifications, the building itself has to be audited within the past 12 months. So that's the only thing just to be aware of if you use Green Seal or if you use the ISSA program. So now let's get into some of the other credits. I mentioned there's a custodial effectiveness audit. The change this year is to make it a little bit more stringent. The way the APA audit works is the closer to 1 is the best. So they've slowly raised the standards to encourage and reward those of you who are investing more into cleaning. The cleaning product requirements themselves have been increased significantly. This credit is awarded by meeting a number of different standards, and then what percentage of the total purchases of the chemicals, paper, and liners meet those requirements. So in version 4, it's been increased from just 30% of your total purchases to 75%. What this practically means is that in the previous versions of LEED-EB, you could earn this credit by just using all recycled toilet paper and hand towels. Typically, that would represent about a third of your total purchases. That was enough without changing anything else to earn this credit. In the new version 4, that just doing paper is not going to be enough. You have to make sure your chemicals are meeting the requirements and probably a portion of your liners as well. Big change relative to the products. So you see some of the specifics. We're using third-party certifications from Green Seal and Environmental Choice, EPA's Design for the Environment program, and they've added equipment that turn water into an effective cleaning solution. So those are the three options that they give, and it is appropriate to use manufacturer's certification as long as you have the documentation to demonstrate that they did all the health and safety and environmental testing that would meet the requirements of the other standards in the rating system. And this is an important point, and please let me know if you have any questions about that. When we talk about disinfectants, we use the same requirements as chemicals with a fourth requirement, which is the California VOC requirements. And frankly, this is a relatively easy one for you to meet, and I'm sure the folks from Procter & Gamble can help you with this one without any problem at all. Hand soaps. The real issue here is using a hand soap that has no added antimicrobial ingredient. So just plain old soap and water works well, with the exception of in healthcare or where code or regulation, like in food service, require it. So if you're working in food service, you're working in a restaurant back of the house, you have to use the appropriate hand soaps. In the bathroom in your restaurant, you can use just plain old soap and water. For liners, again, they have third-party certifications. They follow EPA's requirements for recycled content. And for the first time, they started adding things like FSC certification as an option. There's a number of options, and that's what they're trying to do, is create opportunity for you. And then you see the plastic can liners. One of the quick things that I'm going to suggest to you is when you look at paper, if you're using in your facility multi-fold towels, if you replace it with large rolls, preferably from a hands-free dispenser, you'll reduce consumption by 30%, not only reducing environmental impacts, reducing the number of trees that were required, the amount of fiber that was required, but frankly, it will reduce your cost by 30%. And then you see some other issues about trash cans, make sure the liners are sized right, and even for you to question why you use liners in all of your receptacles, especially if there's just dry or paper waste in them. For equipment, we've also increased the purchases of equipment and requiring a phase-out plan. We don't want to throw away good equipment, but there does need to be a plan on how to upgrade them to greener materials. And they provide a bunch of different options and information to be able to help you figure out what is appropriate. These are all pretty easy to follow. Your distributor, your sales reps can help you with all of this stuff. Sorry. And then here is the entryway mats, 10 feet with a cleaning program to make sure that they're done at least on a weekly basis. So again, as I mentioned earlier, the new version isn't required until 2015, but we would encourage you, whether you use 2009 or version 4, to go ahead and follow the cleaning credits found in the new version. Just a few last things. We want to make sure that you understand that this really is more than just about compliance, and frankly, more than just LEED. There's tax and legal benefits. There's certainly long-term cost savings, reduced risk. For those of you in a very competitive marketplace, there's real opportunities to use your green programs to help drive business. And frankly, it really is better for your staff, for your guests, for others, to work or live or sleep or go to school in a healthier environment. And so just sort of some interesting information. You know, this issue is really changing a lot. And the research is becoming quite clear that, 70%, almost three-quarters of Americans really do think about these decisions. So this really is a time for you to be able to do this. So one last polling question. Jen, if you put up the last polling question. So if you wouldn't mind just taking a second and let us know what really is sort of helping you drive these issues. So what do you think is the number one reason that you have adopted or will adopt a more sustainable cleaning practice? If you quickly click on your answer, and Jen, as soon as we get an answer, we will Well, I have to tell you that I'm really biased, and I'm absolutely thrilled to see that almost half of you agree that health should be the driver of all of this. But as you see, there's lots of other issues too, just responding to demand, the savings. Let's be honest, we're all looking for savings, but our industry is pretty competitive the way it is. So this is great. Thank you all very much for sharing this. So I just want to share one last slide to give you 4 things to consider. When we deal with sort of skepticism and greenwashing, following LEED, following one of the existing roadmaps, really can give you confidence that you're doing the right thing, that you just didn't, all good intentions aside, you didn't just make up your standards and policies on your own. So following LEED really is a smart thing to do. It is also important to find the right vendors. They really can help you. They're smart people, they're motivated, and candidly, you're paying for it. So work with a good vendor who really can help you answer these questions and frankly have a long history and knowledge of working on these green issues. And candidly, I have to tell you that P&G has been literally a world leader on these issues. And I think you can find some of the work they're doing absolutely fascinating. So there's all different kinds of people that have figured out how to put a cleaning product in a bottle. Work with a good vendor that can really help you with this stuff. I think there's a lot of good resources that are available. And ask your folks, ask your guests, ask your customers what's important to them, because the cleaning industry really is prepared to help you meet their needs. So with that, thank you very much for your time. I'd like to turn it over to Joe. And Joe, it is all yours.
Great. Thank you, Steve. Well done, and thank you for the investment today. And thank you, too, audience, for taking time out of your busy day to join us. I know we're approaching the hour, so I will be brief. I have a few slides I'd like to share, so thank you very much. Our safety standard is what we believe in very strongly at Procter & Gamble. In P&G Professional, we use the same approach to safety that our corporate parent company uses. We focus on developing and delivering products that meet the cleaning needs of professionals in what we call the away-from-home market. Anyone who cleans in the food service category or perhaps hospitality, healthcare, cleaning industries, away from home is where we're focused. We do so in many ways that the consistent approach is that we do the right thing. We do this with our promise that our kids are safe at home, as well as the employees that are working with the products each and every day. LEED and PGP. I'm often asked, Joe, do you have any customers that currently are LEED certified that use your products? The answer is yes. Many customers and properties have earned this accreditation through our programs. Our lineup of cleaners and other products meet the California VOC requirements that Steve just mentioned earlier, amongst a host of other ingredient changes and raw materials that we use that drives the certification that gives you the assurance that you're using a safe product for the environment as well as for the health factor. Some of the products that you might be familiar with that are currently LEED approved for the point would be the Spick and Span 3-in-1, as well as our Comet disinfecting bathroom cleaner, and the rest here I won't read them for the sake of time. We'll talk about them a little bit in the next slide. The approach we take for our daily cleaner platform is three-pronged. It starts with efficiency, safety, and performance, and those are not in priority, by the way. Efficiency by the definition that we have a platform of products that do a lot of different tasks with brands that your staff knows and trusts. Products like Spick and Span that are disinfectants in nature, as well as a surface cleaner, as well as a glass cleaner. So think of, in a hospitality environment, you're using one product to do all of those different task areas. So it's a productive enhancement. It's a product that your staff and your guest knows and trust, all while meeting the criteria for the LEED certification. Comet disinfecting bathroom cleaner. Again, disinfection is important. We all want to make sure that we're killing bugs where appropriate. So two products, very much a streamlined approach to doing those daily cleaning tasks that are so important. Regarding safety, I won't read each and one of these bullet points, but know that when manufacturing disinfectants, manufacturers have lots of choices to make in terms of satisfying requirements from a raw material standpoint that would allow us to meet and exceed certain criteria from a green standpoint. Know that we don't use carcinogens in our products, or the chemical toxicity levels are within ranges that are certainly safe to be around. We haven't used phosphates in years. So all of these different things that we're doing every day with the health of the end user in mind, as well as the environment. And of course, performance. If products don't work well, they typically don't get purchased again. So we want to make sure that we have that moment of truth with the end user, that when they use that product the first time, it works well, and they have the confidence that it's safe to be around. Floor cleaners. Very much a critical component of any cleaning program. We value our floors as much as we do sometimes the hard surfaces that we're touching each day. Floor cleaners are designed to remove soil. They're also designed to disinfect in some cases. Our floor cleaners, like our daily cleaner platform, are designed with the same rigid criteria that supports our mission to provide the safest and most effective cleaners in the industry. We do that by, again, not putting phosphates in our floor cleaners. Concentrated formulas that deliver a lot of end-use product. For example, the P&G ProLine Finish Floor Cleaner is a ½ ounce per gallon. Another strategy intentionally to give you more product in a 1 gallon concentrate for less packaging purposes, less water, etc. So not only is it more cost effective, but certainly the environmental impact is substantial. Again, we meet the California VOC requirements with these two products. Not to mention they're both currently DFE approved. So think of our floor care program as a systemic approach that complements our daily cleaning program as well. And lastly, our floor finish lineup. The Procter & Gamble approach to floor finish is that we believe that a longer lasting floor has a great impact on the environment, not only for your building, but for the environment. If you do not have to strip and refinish that floor as often, imagine the impact that has on your budget from a purchase standpoint, from purchasing more finish, but also from an environmental impact, for less floor stripper, less water entering the water streams, and certainly a more effective program within your buildings if you can use less finish over time and deliver that high gloss, shiny floor each and every day throughout the year. All of our finishes are UL slip classified from a health hazard standpoint, so less risk of slip and falling. And importantly, they also meet the California CAR VOC regulations as well that were put in place back in 2011. And then for those customers who wish to have a zinc-free floor finish, we also have that to satisfy that need, which is also DFE certified, and that would be the New Directions floor finish. So with that, that concludes my slide, Steve. I think we're right at the hour. If there's any questions, I think we'll turn it over to Jen.
Wonderful. Well, thanks to both Steve and to Joe. Appreciate that information. We do want to be mindful of everyone's time here on the phone, and we do have a couple of questions that we've gotten from the audience. What we'll do is address those after this webinar by email, but if you have any last-minute questions, please do use the box to the bottom right of your screen to submit those very quickly, and we'll make sure that we round back with you shortly. On behalf of P&G Professional and Steve Ashkin, I'd really like to thank each of you for attending this webinar. We really hope that you enjoyed the presentation. As a reminder, the webinar recording and the slides will both be soon posted on the website at www.pgpro.com. Also, at the end of this webinar, you'll have the ability to register for P&G Professional's next session, which is the 7 Secrets of Successful Small Businesses. That will be featuring our guest speaker, small business expert, and USA Today columnist Steve Strauss. So we'll hope you join us for that if you can. This concludes today's Procter & Gamble Professional Education webinar. Thank you so much for joining us, and have a terrific day.